We will start the session with a small prayer song.
When the Holy Spirit works to enlighten people, He generally gives them knowledge of God's work and of their true entry, and also knowledge of their true state. He also lets them understand God's urgent intentions and His requirements for men today, so that then they have the resolve to sacrifice their all to please God, to love God, even in hardship, even in persecution, and to stand witness for God, giving their life without regret. If you have this kind of resolve, it means you have the stirrings and work of the Holy Spirit. Even so, you should know that you are not possessed of such stirrings at every passing moment. At meetings when you pray and eat and drink God's words, you can feel very moved and inspired. When others fellowship on God's words, it feels so fresh and new to you, and your heart's perfectly clear and perfectly right. It's all the Holy Spirit's work. Maybe you.
Thank you, one and all. And once again, I welcome our resource person and all the participants for today's webinar. As we are moving on the new path in view of NEP, we need to change our mindset, teaching methodologies, add new knowledge to the existing reservoir, and so on. Better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. With this view, we are organizing this 5-day international webinar. Be enthusiastic throughout the webinar. If we have fire in us, we will kindle fire in our listeners. My humble request to all of you to mute your audios during the webinar, and whenever interaction is needed, you can unmute yourself. Today's topic is Innovations and Entrepreneurship Arena in Indian IPR Framework by Dr. P. Veerabrahmachari Garu. Now I invite Mrs. C.M. Anita to introduce our today's resource person. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all. It's a great privilege to me to introduce today's eminent resource person, Dr. P. Veerabrahmachari, Senior Faculty, Department of Biotechnology, Krishna University. He pursued his PG in Microbiology at Acharya Nagarjuna University, PhD at Goa University, and Doctor of Science in Biotechnology at Sambalpur University, Orissa. He has 3 years of postdoctoral research and 10 years of teaching experience. His research interests are in the areas of molecular biology, microbial biotechnology, and cancer biology. He has 125 national and international publications and published 5 international books. He presented 45 papers in national and international symposia conferences. Under his guidance, one PhD was awarded and 6 others are pursuing. He completed 2 research projects and he has 2 national patents. He has 840 Google Scholar citations. It's our great privilege to have such an eminent personality as our resource person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anita. Now I hand over the session to our resource person, Dr. Veerabrahmachari garu. Sorry for the inconvenience, dear participants. Due to technical issue, sir will join within 5 minutes. Please have patience. Thank you. Dear participants, please don't leave the session. Some technical problem from the resource person is joining soon. Please bear with the inconvenience.
তুমি বন্ধু তুমি এটা যাচাই বন্ধু বলে
మేడం కాపీ చేసి మళ్ళీ ఇప్పుడు మీ వాట్సాప్ పంపిస్తున్నాను చెప్పండి మీకు పెట్టుకోండి వాట్సాప్ పెట్టండి ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పుడు కూడా వస్తారన్నా నేను ఎగ్జిట్ చేస్తున్నాను నేను ఎడిట్ చేస్తున్నాను చాలా మంది అసలు ఆయన రాలేదు సిస్టర్ ఆయన లైన్లోకి రాలేదు ఆయన ముందు మన లిస్ట్లో మనకు అడ్మిట్ అవ్వలేదు ముందు జాయిన్ అవ్వలేదు ఆయన ఆయనకే చెప్తున్నాను సిస్టర్ మాట్లాడుతున్నాను వచ్చారు మేడం వచ్చారు మేడం అన్ని చూసుకోండి
Dear participants, thank you for your patience. We didn't expect this type of inconvenience. I am extremely sorry from our college. And hearty welcome to our resource person, Dr. Veera Brahmachari Garu. I hand over the session to Veera Brahmachari Garu to continue.
వచ్చారు మేడం
Sir, please unmute, sir. Brahmachari Garu, please unmute.
వాట్సాప్ ద్వారా కాల్ చేయండి చేశాను వాట్సాప్ ద్వారా మొబైల్ వచ్చారు
Sir, please unmute your video also, sir. Sir, single click change, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, please unmute. Like
Yeah, now it's, yeah.
Sir, video also.
Video, yeah, unmute my video. Yeah, is it clear?
No,
Can you
sir.
see me?
No. Only voice is coming.
Okay, but I've switched on my camera, but I don't know why. I've switched on my camera, but I don't know, you put some logins and also that is making a lot of trouble to me. Hello.
Sir?
I don't know because the camera is on, but I don't know why it's not able to be seen.
Okay, sir.
There are some login passwords and there are some controls given, so I'm unable to log in since long time. I don't know why.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Sir.
So shall I log in because I don't know. Even my bandwidth is not able to support, and
Sir, let it be, sir. Then, is there any PPT to share? Then with the PPT, you can start the session, sir.
yeah, there is a technical problem. I don't know. I'm also facing for the first time. I really don't know because for the first time I'm facing such problem for my meeting. I'm unable to log in for first of all for 20 minutes, and now it is not showing up my video.
Sir, you are using laptop use చేస్తున్నారా సార్ మీరు?
Yes, laptop in చేస్తున్నాను, but the control for video is not given. I don't know why it's problem. తెలియట్లేదు.
సార్ ఒకసారి వాట్సాప్ వీడియో కాల్ చేస్తారా సార్?
వాట్సాప్ చేయనా?
వాట్సాప్ వీడియో కాల్. షో మీ ద ల్యాప్టాప్ కీబోర్డ్.
యా, మేడం చూపిస్తాను. మేడం దానికి చేస్తున్నాను.
మేడం దాన్ని చూసి.
ల్యాప్టాప్ కీబోర్డ్ చూపించారా సార్?
యా చూపించు. యా నౌ ఇప్పుడు యా నౌ ఇట్ కెన్ యు సీ మీ నౌ?
కీబోర్డ్ సార్.
కీబోర్డ్ యా.
మన కీబోర్డ్ లో ఫంక్షన్ బట్టి యూజ్ చేసుకుని దాంట్లో ఒక
ఫంక్షన్ లో బట్ అది ఎనేబుల్ చేసినా మరి డిసేబుల్
F7 ఆర్ F6 అలా
ఎనేబుల్ చేసినా డిసేబుల్ అయిపోతుంది. ఐ డోంట్ నో దిస్ యూ గాట్ సమ్ కంట్రోల్స్ హియర్, యు ఆర్ అనేబుల్ టు గెట్ ఇట్ అవుట్ ఫ్రమ్ మీ. ఇది నేను ఇఫ్ ఐ డూ ద ఎనేబుల్ వన్ ఆల్సో ఇది మన కెమెరా, బట్ ఇట్ స్టిల్ గెటింగ్ డిసేబుల్డ్ అగైన్ వన్స్ అగైన్.
ఓకే సార్, నో ప్రాబ్లం సార్. అలా అయితే మీరు మామూలుగా పీపీటీ ప్రజెంట్ చేస్తారు చెప్పండి సార్. పీపీటీ ఉందా సార్?
యా పీపీటీ ఉంది, బట్ యా వెయిట్ ఎ సెకండ్.
సార్ మీరు సార్ ఇప్పుడు సార్ మీరు ప్రొజెక్టర్ కనెక్ట్ చేస్తారా సార్ మీ ల్యాప్టాప్ ని?
అవును, తీసేయాలా?
అది విజిఏ కేబుల్ తో కనెక్ట్ చేస్తారా? హెచ్డిఎంఐ కేబుల్ తో కనెక్ట్ చేస్తారా?
విజిఐ కేబుల్తో చేశాను. హెచ్డిఎంఐ.
ఒకసారి హెచ్డిఎంఐ డిజేబుల్ చేసి ఒకసారి చూడండి సార్.
ఓకే.
ప్రొజెక్టర్ కి డిస్కనెక్ట్ చేసి ఒకసారి వీడియో ఆన్ చేయండి.
అయినా ఆన్ కావట్లేదు. అది మళ్ళీ డిసేబుల్ అయిపోతుంది మళ్ళీ.
సార్ ఒకసారి రీలాగిన్ అవ్వండి సార్. అయితే ఒకసారి లాగౌట్ అయ్యి లాగిన్ మీటింగ్ అండ్ బయటకు వచ్చేసి మళ్ళీ
ఓకే
నా సైడ్ నుండి నేను తీసేస్తాను. మళ్ళీ మీరు లాగిన్ పీపీటీ ప్రాబ్లం కాదు, వీడియో ప్రాబ్లం.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No problem, sir. సార్ మామూలుగా కంటిన్యూ చేయండి సార్ అయితే నో ప్రాబ్లం. సార్ మీరు మీటింగ్లో రాలేదు సార్. సార్ మీటింగ్లో ఫీల్ అవుతున్నారా?
John, can you see me now?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, can you see me now?
Please,
But even still, అది మళ్ళీ డిసేబుల్ అయిపోతుంది. That's getting
sir,
disabled.
ఎలాగ కంటిన్యూ చేయండి.
No problem.
No problem, sir.
Yeah. ఎందుకు why?
సార్ అది మీ ల్యాప్టాప్లో ప్రాబ్లం సార్, సరిగా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయట్లేదు.
సరిగ్గా చేయట్లేదు.
It's not my laptop. My laptop, I give hundreds of presentations. My laptop is good, and you have put some controls and passwords and
అదే లేదు సార్, మీ పాస్వర్డ్స్
host కి ఇవ్వాల్సిన కంట్రోల్స్ ఇవ్వలేదు. See, host కి ఇవ్వాల్సిన కంట్రోల్ ఇస్తే then this will not be a problem. So I haven't faced such a problem time. ఇది వీడియో వస్తే ఆడియో రావట్లేదు, ఆడియో వస్తే వీడియో రావట్లేదు. And I've given several presentations. I'm facing it for the first time. I don't know why. You made it more complicated. You would have gone for a platform, Google. Google is more complicated, my dear. You should never opt Google Meet. It's more complicated. It's more complicated. Yeah, can you see it now?
Okay, sir.
Can you see the slide now?
ఓకే సార్. ఓకే.
Yeah?
And entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Is the slide okay? Yeah. So let's start. Okay. So very good morning to all of you, and I'm very sorry, okay, because there was a technical problem which had come up for the last half an hour. Okay, so today I'm going to talk on innovations and entrepreneurships arena in Indian IPR, intellectual property right framework. So I understand that there are audience from management department of Zoology, Department of Commerce, and other people from places of Krishna and Guntur district. Okay, can you hear me? Hello?
సార్ వాయిస్ ఇస్ టూ లో సార్.
Can you hear me?
సార్ వాయిస్ చాలా తక్కువగా ఉంది సార్.
Too low. The voice is also high. It's very high. Shall I use the ear? next you don't Google people you use your Microsoft and my humble you will end up in trouble.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
It's not only you are with Google Meet. Google Meet requires a lot of bandwidth.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah, is it okay now?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, is it clear now? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So can you see the window here?
Yes, sir. Intellectual property. Now we are seeing
Yeah.
intellectual property slide.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you see it here? Yeah.
Yes, sir. It is visible. You can continue.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. There's a background noise coming up. I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah. Is it clear? Okay. So intellectual property.
When we talk about intellectual property, it's nothing but the creation of a human intellect, the knowledge assets, tradable commodities. Then IPR is nothing but a key component for success in business. It's a tool for competitiveness among several inventors or innovators. So it's nothing but basically a new wealth of nations, because all the nations are building up IPR. They talk about GDP growth and everything. So this mentioned, we must make a note of the rights, the new wealth of nations. So why is this IPR important in India? So the main reason for my talk is to basically mention about the National Intellectual Property Right Policy, which has come up recently, approved by the Cabinet in 12th May 2016, to encompass all forms of intellectual property. So the policy, policy proposes a framework of very strong intellectual property rights with a view to sensitivize the research and development in pharmaceutical industries or R&D laboratories across India. So this is nothing but a strong regime that implies the extending the terms of protection of IPR, expanding the scope of protectable subject matters in IPR, then the increased penalties for violation, then facilitating the enforcement and law in terms of national policy for intellectual property, then expediting the litigations in IPR policies. Then the main purpose is to strengthen the enforcement and adjudicatory mechanisms for combating IPR infringements, especially in terms of copyrights, trademarks, and industrial designs. These IPR infringements through specialized commercial courts are also established in Western Zone, Northern Zone, Southern Zone, and Eastern Zone, the main office being in Calcutta. So furthermore, the IPR policy aims to tap the talent and knowledge of national research laboratories, universities, technology-based institutions, and other researchers by encouraging the researchers to work for the acquisition of intellectual property rights. Then it also plans to commercialize their research by deploying their IPRs through IP exchange to set up by the government. So in terms of this, it's very mandatory to understand why this IPR is very important for India as a nation, as a developing country. So it stimulates the innovations, patents, plant variety rights, plant breeders' rights, layout designs for integrated circuits, protection, and industrial designs. So it also facilitates the conduct of business, trade secrets, protects the consumers also from trademarks on geographical indications, encourages the creativity, copyrights and neighboring rights and related rights. So you must also have heard about neighboring rights or broadcasting rights are all one and the same. So they're all, both of them are called as neighboring rights or related rights. So when you look at the scientific eras and the technology generation, if you look at the starting of 1745, so this was the first wave of intellectual property rights, innovations or industrial growth took place from 1745 to 1950. So in the first wave, you can see the innovations, especially on especially it took nearly 200 years to put up a second wave of steam power, rails and roads, steel and cotton, So until 1900s, so people were not aware of all these innovations. And only in the third wave in 1950s, people are seeing electricity, chemicals, internal combustions, engines. Then in the fourth wave in 1990 onwards, you can see petrochemicals, electronics, aviation. And from 1990 to 2020, so this is the knowledge-driven revolution where exactly the fifth wave and now currently the sixth wave. So we are talking about the digital network, software, information technology, biotechnology, pharmaceutics, then information technology. All this technology has been grown up from 1990 to 2020 onwards. So when you talk about the 2021 and for the next consecutive 9 years, so you can see the sustainability, radical resource productivity, whole system designing, biomimicry, green chemistry, industrial ecology, renewable energy, green nanotechnology. So these are all the future. So by using these nanotechnology-driven innovations, especially in green chemistry and biotechnology, so here we are going to see much more innovations and inventions, and many more entrepreneurships may turn up in these consecutive 10 years. So I see some background noise coming up. Someone has switched on the speakers. Hello? Someone has switched on the speakers. Can you all switch off your mic?
Is it
Hello?
clear, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you also switch off your mic? Because I see some background noise. Yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine. You switch off your mic also. Okay. So role of IPR in innovation entrepreneurship. When we talk about the IPR, so we need to basically identify the research problem and the opportunities if you want to innovate or incubate or become an entrepreneur. So one need to initially formulate the questions, then ideation, generate the ideas, incubate your ideas in one particular center or innovation center, then especially university or any institute where there are a lot of R&D activities going on, then analysis and synthesize the idea, then develop the concepts, then test and select the concepts, then communicate and advance the idea into a material or a product. Okay, so if you look into the innovation and enterprises, so who are the key players? If you look at the key players, the individuals, universities, institutes, industries, all of them are the key players. They are the guys who need to involve themselves in innovation technology or invention technology. So then they need to set up an enterprise by looking out a venture capitalist. They need to invest something and become a startup company. Then once they get up into a startup company, they start getting royalties. They actually fruits of innovation is commercialized. So they need to contribute to the economy, and then this economy is directly responsible for any kind of a GDP. Okay, so of any country. So if you look into how do we generate the intellectual property, so the basic thing is the research. So the practical leads which we get from several inventions or inventions, some private relations, legal protection in terms of enforcement. This be the
Sir, my voice is clearly, sir. Sir, your voice is not clear, sir.
Hello.
Sir.
Hello. Now చెప్పు నా వాయిస్ లో
ఇప్పుడు క్లియర్ గానే ఉంది సార్. సార్ తర్వాత
ఐ థింక్ ఇట్ చెప్పండి. ఐ థింక్ ఇట్స్ క్లియర్.
ఓకే
బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్
సార్ స్లైడ్స్ చేంజ్ చేస్తున్నారు సార్, లేకపోతే అది సేమ్ స్లైడ్ లోనే ఉన్నారా? నో హౌ డు వి జనరేట్ ఇంటెలెక్చువల్ ప్రాపర్టీ ఈ స్లైడ్ ఉన్నారు సార్.
Intellectual property. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So yeah. So for an idea to be for idea to be generated, so initially you need to put up a business proposition or a proposal. So the startup companies, there are several funding agencies which will give you funding for setting up a startup company or execute them. There are so many venture capitalists. So there are so many players, teams, and fundraising companies are also there, like Infosys, Satyam. Okay, there are so many companies which Wipro, they give fundraising for startup companies, especially intellectual property. They know your roles and profit sharing, then create the products, Then grow as an entrepreneur. So initially you need to have an idea, you need to look up a gap and a technology, then look up an institute where the R&D activity is going on enormously, then create the product, incubate yourself in an incubation center, then create the product, then grow up as an entrepreneur, come out of the incubation center. Then, so this is how, if you grow up as an entrepreneur, so these innovations should be purposeful, they should be affordable, they should be useful for any individual or society, they should be easy to use, safe to use, easy to manufacture, and approved by the society, then should have component of corporate social responsibility. So any innovation must be having these 8 or 9 criteria. Okay? Without these criteria, the innovation may not be approved by the government of India. So if the inventor has an unique idea or a work, okay, so if he has to disclose the invention and if he has to go and protect his invention into a patent, so what he has to do, he has to protect the intellectual property associated with the invention. He has to file a patent initially, and he need to disclose the confidential disclosure agreements to the government of India. Then any other types of protection like copyright registrations, trademarks, trade secrets, or biomaterials. So then he has to look into the market for the invention, then license the invention, then collect the royalties, and then fetch the income from the companies where he is going to sell the product. So if you look at the innovation to entrepreneurship, so the Startup India initiative is launched in January 2016 to nurture the innovation and drive the economic growth and employment opportunities. A complete ecosystem for startups is coming up in the whole India, especially. So initially they start up with the tinkering labs. So these tinkering labs are set up in small schools to colleges and the universities, and slowly they in turn become the incubation centers, and these incubation centers in turn become innovation centers. So in the innovation centers, so the budding entrepreneurs and experts work together in partnership to achieve the breakthroughs at technical institutes like NITs, etc. Okay, so the project will be a part of this budgetary part, and this will be funded by the Ministry of Commerce and ministries like MP Labs and Niti Aayog and any local authorities. Just like we have seen Telangana Incubation Center Hub, TIC Hub is there. Okay, so we don't have any incubation hub for Andhra Pradesh from the government of Andhra Pradesh, but we have a very good, very big, largest incubation hub in Karnataka as well as in Telangana also. Okay, so there are two types of innovations, especially incremental innovation and detrimental innovation. So if you look at the incremental innovation, so people must look into incremental innovation because so this builds on the existing thinking, the products, processes, organizations, or social systems. So they can be routine improvements or they can be dramatic breakthroughs, but they address the very core of what they already exist. So people will start making up small adjustments or small attachments to the already existed discoveries. They are called as incremental innovations. But when you look at the disruptive innovation, so disruptive innovations are addressed to people who do not have any solutions at all. So they take root in simple, undemanding applications that are not breakthrough. They do not compete with anything. So they are standalone innovations, and as they can gain strength in the realm of non-competitions, so they evolve very faster. So always disruptive innovations have got a very, very sharp edge in finding a better place in incubation centers, and also end up replacing the traditional solutions in terms of technology. So the government of India has come up with a Startup India or Stand Up India initiative in 2016. So only in 2016 we have got the policy. I'll talk about that policy also in the coming slides. So the Startup India for the Prosperous India, the new incentives for the startup companies. Look at here, the Prime Minister of India has come up with several incentives. So whomsoever comes with a new ideas or novel innovative ideas, so they have a self-certification compliance. So no inspection for first 3 years. So no income tax or profits for first 3 years. Then mobile app for startup registration in 1 day.
Sir,
then
we are in the second slide only. If you want to move, still we are in second slide. Is it okay? Okay, sir.
No,
Okay,
madam.
sir. Now third one, Startup India for a Prosperous India. Now we are getting this slide.
Madam, I see lot of problems in the presentation, madam. I don't know. Because next time you should change the platform, madam, because I'm also getting annoyed because I already wasted 30 minutes time by setting up all these things. I don't know. Last time when I talked, it was pretty good, but I don't know why this time. This time I don't know. You all need a better system.
Last 3 days also no problem, sir. Only
why.
today this problem was arised. We are also feeling sorry for it. I don't know the reason, but the previous 3 days it went on well. No issue.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
Sorry,
Okay.
sir. Okay, sir. Now we are in third slide. Startup India for a prosperous India.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Switch off your mic, madam. Yeah. Yes, the Startup India Hub has a single point contact, then exemption from capital gains and tax and personal property sold to invest in startups. So the tax exemption is given to all the startup companies. The 80% rebate on patent filing fee also. So if the fee is 25 to 50,000 rupees, so straight away the 80% rebate is given. Then bankruptcy bill 2015 to 90 days to exit the business. Then there are more than 500 tinkering labs given every 6 months across India. Then 35 public-private incubator centers are there. Then 31 innovation centers are there at national institutes like NIT Warangal, NIT Surathkal, NIT Trichy, NIT Delhi, NIT Assam. Okay, so dedicated funds for nearly 10,000 crores to promote the startup companies. The credit guarantee schemes for loans and 5 new bio clusters. So you must make a note of several things which I'm making a mention of here. Something called as tinkering labs, then incubation centers, then innovation centers, then bio clusters, then so all these, they are nothing but patent research parks. So several things are getting established under the patent regime, and all this was a policy matter which took up of India in 2016 January. So which has been simplified and which has been implemented as a in the parliament. Then in 2018, the top 5 funding rounds were nothing but, see, look at here, the Swiggy. Swiggy is $1.31 billion. The investors are nothing but, okay, so it is standing first in 2018 base. Then Oyo, we can see the accommodations, the Oyo. Then Baiju's app is also taken up. They are all startup companies, and now Paytm Mall and Zomato. Look at here. So all these 5 are standing the top 5 funding rounds of startup companies in India. So they all started with a very small startup, and now they are, look at here, 1.31 billions, and Oyo is 1 billion and 540 millions. Especially the Baiju's app is now grown a lot, and 445 million Paytm Mall and 410 millions of Zomato. Okay, so if you look into the startup hub for the world, so India emerges as the world's 3rd largest startup ecosystem, and 40% of all the startup companies in Asia originate from India. And look at here, this is the 3rd largest hub. When you look into the America, it's United States of America, 39,834 startup companies. Then UK is 3,530. Then India is 3,000, and Canada is after India. And then Germany and Israel, China, Japan, all are after India. So India, in terms of startup hubs and startup companies, or incubation centers, is growing up pretty fast, is gaining very strong momentum across the world. Then looking up, several countries are looking up investing in India, the post Brexit. So which the Brexit is nothing but when the UK has gone up on a bankruptcy in terms of GDP recently. So all the people are looking out and to invest in India. So India is the first, okay, there is a growing major economy in the world, and the majority of the UK business says Modi government reforms have made them increase their investment in India. So only because of the Prime Minister, the GDP and several reforms have been taken place, and all the foreign direct investments have been taken place very faster in Indian government. So India is currently the 9th largest economy in the world, and is predicted to be the largest by 2030. 2030, it is forecasted that India is going to be the forecast in the first list of the whole economy. So majority of the 1,200 new startup companies are B2C. So nothing but the primarily present in 3 segments: e-commerce, consumer services, and aggregators. So if you look into the 10,000 startup companies, so e-commerce, then consumer services is 10 to 12%, then aggregators, especially then enterprise softwares, then hyperlocal e-commerces, health and technology, educational technologies, analytics, then e-commerce enablers, social platforms, and some other things. So if you look into here, so there are so many e-commerce, like you find Amazons, you find so many companies coming up selling so many products on the online. Is in terms of books, even what is that? Which sells the books. Flipkart, even Flipkart has also aroused as one of the major startup company, and it's grown up pretty faster. So if you talk about the India, the hub of frugal innovations. So in India, there are more than 1,200 R&D centers set up by the global multinational companies. So more than 700 plus total number of advanced technology startup companies are there. Then 900 plus Atal Tinkering Labs are planned at schools to drive the innovation. Then 1.5 billion money is being generated as a total corpus to Startup India fund by the government. So mainly the major examples of frugal innovations are aerospace and defense. DRDO is doing a lot of research in terms of startup companies. Then business mode innovations, then consumer technology, Philips, like Geo, then inclusive healthcares like Jaipur footwear, like Jaipur prosthetic foods, then sustainable agriculture, then Mitra sprayers for improving farm mechanism, then adaptive innovations like Flipkart, then Ola cabs. Okay, so all these are making a big frugal innovation in terms of Startup India. So this will provide a robust R&D ecosystem and diverse growth opportunities to MNC multinational companies. So India as the innovation hub, you see so many MNC companies will be able to harness the diverse benefits of an innovative India. So they have access to high quality talents, innovates for India from India. Then reverse globalization is also taking place in terms of successful Indian products. Then access to rich startup ecosystem, then cooperation with academia and research. There's a lot of industry academia tie-ups are going up with the government, and the collaboration with the high-end research is going on, especially in terms of CCMB and Bharat Biotech and some other companies like Serum Institute of India and NCCS Pune and NCL Pune. Okay, so if you look at the second largest startup ecosystem, just now I mentioned about the startup ecosystems. So if you see here, 28 years of age, average age of all the founders, of all the innovators. You see Bangalore's global ranking is also pretty growing faster. So incubator annual growth is 40% in India. And if you see the startup hubs, Bhubaneswar, Hyderabad, Chennai, Coimbatore, Kochi, Bengaluru, Pune, Bombay, Indore, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Delhi. So these are the major startup ecosystems, and especially 9% women entrepreneurs are there, and 700 startups are arising from unicorns. So nearly 50 billion valuation has been taken place, and 200 more and more incubators and accelerators are taken place. So this is the basis of startup ecosystem in India. So Startup India performance of the states, look at here, the best performer of Startup India is Gujarat. And the top performers are Karnataka, Kerala, Odisha, and Rajasthan. And we are nowhere in the scene, like Andhra Pradesh is not in the top performers. And leaders, if you talk about the leaders, Andhra Pradesh, then Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana. Then aspiring leaders, Haryana, Himachal, Jharkhand. Then emerging states, if you see Assam, Delhi, Goa, Jammu Kashmir. So these are the beginners in the sense they have just started now. Puducherry, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, all the northeastern states and Chandigarh. So all of them are still just started, but in terms of the best performing India is Gujarat, Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Vapi. So all these places are having a better industrial policies and promotions. So in the ranking process, states have been identified as the leaders across the various categories, such as startup policies, incubation hubs, seeding innovations, scaling innovations, regulatory change champions, then procurement leaders and communication champions. So there are several developments which are going on, which are taking place in India, especially startup and stand-up India. So state-wise in ease of doing business in India, if you look at here, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana stands first in the ease of doing business, because we have got nearly 947 kilometers of coastline right from Srikakulam to the Nellore, off Nellore to off Chennai. So in spite of that, we are not making a lot of money in terms of startup. So the second place comes to, I know it's not mentioned here. then Chhattisgarh, then Gujarat, then Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh. Even though Gujarat stands third place, but it's for ease of doing business, but it's always better in terms of making up so many innovations in India. So how these startups are powering Indian inclusive companies. So India has emerged as the fastest growing base of startups worldwide. So 72% Indian founders are under the age of 35, 27 to 35 only. And the third, if you look at the India's ranking globally in number of startups is third, and 125% growth in funding this year, especially 2014 onwards to 2020. So more than 4,200 total number of Indian startups have aroused newly from 2016 onwards, and more than $5 billion money has been generated as a venture capitalist, then estimated funding in Indian startups in 2015. So the basic thing was to further expand these startup companies in Indian perspective, especially to remove the angel tax, then simplify the norms for capital rising, and simplify the compliance procedures in terms of tax exemption and rebate on the tax benefits, and easier exit for entrepreneurs, so they can exit from the incubation or innovation centers, that they can become individual entrepreneurs, then ease in rules of registrations of business also there. So if you look at the IPR, the main objective of the IPR is so building awareness on intellectual property rights. So even your institute also can also apply for funding, because the Ministry of Commerce is giving 2 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees to organize workshops or seminars or workshops, or 65 lakhs for establishment of facilitation center. So I also mentioned you last time when I came to your institute. Okay, so you can log in through this website, DCM SME, small minimal establishments. Okay, small scale minimal establishments. So with these,
Sorry, sir, your slides are not moving. Still we are in third slide. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So is it moving now, madam? Madam, is it moving now?
Yes, sir. We are getting IPR slide right now.
Which one, madam? National IPR policy?
No, IPR, Objective Eligibility Financial Assistance. That slide now we got.
Now, madam? Now?
Yeah, yes, sir. Now we got the same, just now.
No, madam. I think it is not moving, madam. Slide is not moving.
Yeah, slide
so
is not moving, sir.
So each time we are facing a problem. So how is it?
Yeah.
How is it?
Now national policy on IPR.
Yeah. So see, if I maximize the slide, it is not moving.
Okay.
If I minimize the slide, it is moving.
Oh, okay, sir.
So,
you minimize and continue, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I will do this way. Yeah,
Okay,
that's much better.
okay.
Better
Thank
for
you,
me.
sir.
Okay. Okay. So the national IPR policy has nothing but a creative India or innovative India. So the main taglines for national IPR policy is Make in India, Digital India, Smart Cities. We have seen Kakinada, Tirupati, and Visakhapatnam as smart cities in Andhra Pradesh. Then Skilled India, then capturing the spirit of IP stimulated growth has taken place. So when I go in deep of national policy of IPR, so Make in India. So if you look at the Make in India policy, the major Indian initiative designed to facilitate the investment, foster the innovations, enhance the skill development, protect the intellectual property, and build a best-in-class manufacturing infrastructure. So if you see the past 5 years, down the line for last 5 years, a lot of developments have taken place in terms of Make in India, Made in India. So Make in India has majorly focused on the 25 sectors of the economy, especially automobiles, automobile components, aviation, biotechnology, chemicals, construction, defense manufacturing, electrical machinery, electronic systems, food processing, IT and business process management, leather industries, especially in Kanpur, then providing skilled manpower to all the sectors, media and entertainment. So media has grown up pretty fast, and mining has also taken place. ONGC and mining and oil and natural gas, oil and gas, pharmaceutical industries has grown up in Gujarat and Hyderabad especially, and now Visakhapatnam is taking also a major shape. Then ports and shipping, then railways, renewable energy, roads and highways, then astronomy, textiles and garments, thermal power, tourism and hospital, wellness. So all these are the thrust areas. So whomsoever wants to bring up a proposal to Government of India in terms of make in India or made in India. So these are the thrust lines. So the way the person has to make a proposal only in these lines, because they have selected 25 sectors. So if you look at the national IPR policy, this policy aims to push the IPR as a marketable financial asset, promote innovations and entrepreneurship while protecting public interest. So this plan will be reviewed every 5 years in consultation with all the stakeholders. Then these will be under the very strong and effective enforcement laws, and steps would be taken, including review of existing IP laws to update and improve them, or to remove anomalies or inconsistencies. So this policy is entirely compliant with the WTO, World Trade Organization's agreement on TRIPS, Trade Industrial Protection System. So Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, DIPP, is a nodal agency for all the IPR issues concerned with India. So this policy retains the provision of compulsory licensing. So we have recently seen one big example of compulsory licensing is given to only the pharmaceutical industries. So though the Bharat Biotech has discovered the Covaxin, they did not permit the Bharat Biotech the compulsory licensing, because so as and when the needed for the public emergency, so this patent must not be filed in the name of the Bharat Biotech, because because of the public emergency, so this vaccine was prepared in more doses, so as to cater the needs of the public, so as to make them available so many doses in terms of public emergency, or which aroused as an epidemic or an endemic in pharmaceutical industry. Okay, so especially in terms of drugs and patents, this compulsory licensing under the Act, Section 3D of the Indian Patent Act, this has played a major role. Had the government given the compulsory licensing to all the pharmaceutical industries, so today we must have purchased a Covaxin or a Covishield for at least 10,000 to 20,000 rupees a single dose. So the government in terms has given the doses free of cost to all the public, keeping in view of the emergency. So under the Indian Patent Act, a compulsory licensing can be issued for a drug if the medicine is deemed unaffordable. So only unaffordable drugs like cancer drugs like Glivec is one of the example. So among other conditions, the government grants permission to qualified generic drug makers to manufacture it. So however, the government of India has got all the rights and powers to adjudicate on the pharmaceutical companies whether to give the compulsory licensing or not to give the compulsory licensing to all the affordable and or unaffordable drugs. So intellectual property rights, the 5 major challenges faced in India are: intellectual property rights issues challenges in the prevention of the evergreening of the patents of multinational companies is one of the major thing. Then evergreening is one of the term which you need to write down. So in the morning I mentioned about tinkering labs, incubation centers, innovation centers, then research centers. Okay, so likewise, you also heard about compulsory licensing. You also heard about evergreening. It's a strategy for extending the term of granted patent. So if you look at the evergreening, Monsanto has come up with a ball guard 1, ball guard 2, and ball guard 3. So for the past 25 years, the same company is holding the patent for ball guard 1. It's a genetically modified cotton seeds. Okay, it is not letting the patent rights even after its completion also. That is called as evergreening. Okay, it's okay, increasing the therapeutic efficiency in order to retain the loyalties also sometimes. So as we all know, the companies cannot evergreen their patent simply by making minor changes. So this evergreening is a terminology picked only for the sake of Monsanto company, because Monsanto company always wants to hold the patent for decades and decades. So for that reason, the farmer has to buy the seeds completely from the monopoly company, which is a corporate company, and it becomes a monopoly, and the farmer has to wait until the company delivers them the proper seeds in the right time. Okay, so this acts bars the grant of patents to new forms of substances. So this has discouragement investment from the Western countries also. So subsidies and IPR issues is one of the major problem. So a major form of subsidies includes food subsidy, fertilizer subsidy, education subsidy, etc. So what people are saying is subsidies must be under the IPR regime. So for the complete implementation of TRIPS agreement, one needs to reduce or eliminate these subsidies. So if the subsidies are the government of India, so the IPR may not come under the national framework, or IPR cannot hold complete rights. IPR cannot hold the enforcement and the law which is entangled on the IPR issued by the government of India. So thus the government of India needs to create a balance between providing subsidies and providing IP rights in India. So for that reason, somehow the government of India wants to remove all the subsidies which is levied on in terms of foods, fertilizers, and education also. So the product patent process. So we don't have a process patent. We have a product patent in India. So a product patent protects a product. So it offers high protection to the original inventor to reduce the completion of the same product. But whereas the process patent protects the process through which one manufactures the product, but not the product. Okay, so it reduces the element of monopoly in the market. So people are saying that you should not recommend a process patent, but in India, the product patent must be in process. So as India is a part of the TRIPS agreement, the agreement requires all its members to shift their patent regime from process to product patent. Because in India, as on today, only process patent is there, but there is no product patent. But only if the product patent comes, okay, India will grow much more faster in terms of its GDP. Okay, so this remains a big challenge for India. A process patent would be more helpful to a country like India. So this is, since India is a developing country and ordinary people are struggling with basic necessities like food, so India must come up with a product patent along with the process patent, which is already in the vogue. Okay, so protecting the traditional knowledge. So a lot of traditional knowledge has been already moved out of India to other countries like China, Germany, USA, UK, and Europe. So traditional knowledge in terms of, we call it as Tallapaka Patralu in Telugu, and a lot of traditional medicines, traditional recipes have gone out India, especially turmeric, basmati rice, neem. These are the best 3 examples in India. So especially in the fields of medicine, it's like a gold mine, because we have got a lot of treasure in terms of recipes and medicine formulas in India. So government of India is bound to protect the traditional knowledge, not by allowing MNC companies to get patents on the traditional culturing. So India has a very strong enforcement and law to protect all the traditional knowledge. So above all, the government has created a traditional knowledge digital library. Okay, so TKDL to prevent the patenting of traditional knowledge. So this is one of the intellectual property issues in India. So this is one of the major issues that we need to protect our traditional knowledge, which is also under the IPR regime. So I was mentioning about the compulsory licensing and drug price control order. Okay, so compulsory licensing is a terminology, okay, given to only pharmaceutical industries. Okay, so these licenses or authorizations given to third party by the government to make, use, or sell a particular patented product without the need of the permission of the patent owner. Okay, that means, see, suppose COVAC is discovered by Bharat Biotech, and Bharat Biotech cannot hold the complete rights on its own discovery for the reason that I mentioned you recently. Okay, so if there is any public emergency like pandemic or endemic, okay, so they have to produce the doses whatever the government says in that rate. Okay, so these provisions regarding compulsory licensing are given to Indian Patent Acts as per 1970, which is as per the TRIPS agreement. So this compulsory licensing comes under the section 84 of the IPA, the private commercial use under certain circumstances only. Okay, so there is something called drug price control order, also will be also under the regime of IPR. Okay, so the basic objective of national policy of India, national IPR policy, is to create awareness, make outreach centers and promotion of IPR in terms of especially in the educational institutes, then to generate the generation of IPRs, stimulate the generation of IPRs, then legal and legislative framework. Unless and until we bring all the IP regime under the legislative framework, so we are not, we may not grow in terms of GDP. Is one of the major drawback for India is enforcement is not that good in terms of IPR. Then administration and management is also one of the major objective. Then commercialization of IPR is also one of the major objective, because there are so many startup companies, so many people are coming up with innovations, but the commercialization aspect and the marketing aspect, they are very weak. where the Indian government has to intervene in this matter and then help the entrepreneurs to bring out so many new perspectives so that that product gets marketed in terms of a trademark or a copyright or industrial policy act or something like that. Then enforcement and adjudication must be there. Okay, to strengthen the enforcement and adjudicated mechanisms must be stipulated for combating IPR infringements. Then human capital developments to strengthen and expand the human resources, institutions and capacity building for teaching, training and research and skill building, especially in terms of IPR. Okay, so when you talk about the India as a perspective, as a business capital for so many startup companies, India is no doubt a fast developing into a technology producing country, particularly in biotechnology, IT and pharmaceutical sectors. And creativity and innovations are the new drivers of the world economy. So these policies are adopted by country shall determine the nation's well-being. If you don't adapt these policies properly, so had we adopted this national policy, IPR policy in 2007 or 8 onwards, so by now India would have been the first place in terms of GDP. So only because we have started very late in 2016, hardly 6 years ago, 5 years ago, India has come up with a policy making document. Okay, so development of a country's intellectual capital is one of the most important tasks in this regard. So in terms of innovations driven economies, the IPR is a dynamic tool for wealth creation, providing an incentive for the enterprises and individuals to innovate an idea, intellectual assets and stable environment for domestic and foreign investments. So definitely development of a country's intellectual capital is a most important task in terms of IPR perspective. So this IPR enhances the socio-economic prosperity of the country, provides the incentives to invest on innovation, which in turn maximizes wealth of a nation. So which also enhances the motivation into disseminate scientific and technological information and stimulates the R&D centers or universities or institutes for improvement of quality of life. So only if you do quality research in institutes, industries or universities, so our quality of life or standards of life will be improvised. Otherwise, so we will be back in the past 20 awareness. I told you a lot of outreach programs are created create about the economic, social, and cultural benefits of IPRs among all the sections of society. This nationwide program promotion should improve the awareness about the benefits also on IPR. So adapting national slogan, Creative India, Innovative India. Okay. So this global competitiveness has redefined business strategies worldwide, and the focus has certainly shifted to examining how our knowledge resources can deposit our stand in the world market. So especially India, country, developed country, is no doubt standing very tight in terms of global competitiveness and has redefined the business strategies worldwide, and is now focusing to shift the knowledge resource centers world market. So is also in the process of wealth creation, is changing from resource based to knowledge based. So we need to move on from resource based to knowledge based. So it now depends on the brain power and our ability to create or sell or to explain and to solve the problems. So we need to move on from resource based to knowledge based driven economy. Okay. So when I talk about the economy, intellectual property and USA, look, 38% of the GDP of USA is completely based on IPR, intellectual property rights. So whereas we are in India as a country, they're talking about only 7% GDP exclusive. Just talking about 30 GDP only in terms of intellectual rights. Canada exports are taking place. Then 27.9 million of jobs every year, only in terms of IP-intensive industries, and 46% of the wages premiums are also increased every year. Okay, only because of IPR. Okay, so the IP's crimes annual cost to the economy. Look at here, from theft to trade secrets. So only because of IP, the government of USA is making $180 billion and $18 billion from pirated US softwares and $29 billion dollars in terms of displaced legitimate sales into counterfeit and pirated goods. Here in India, at least out of 100%, 99% people use pirated softwares only. But whereas in USA, they are not supposed to use any pirated softwares. If they use, they are reprimanded, they are behind bars, and they have to pay the sufficient taxes in terms of IPR, pirate softwares. So when you look at the quality of science for technology, the 2008 from now to see United States 1998 is a big glow, and now the United States have grown a little bit. And look at India. India is very in 1990, and after 10 years, it's grown a little bit bigger. But where other countries like Japan, Germany, United Kingdoms have not grown much, especially Poland, Russia, Sweden, there is no change at all. Only okay. When you look at China, China has grown enormously. Okay, when you look at 1998 and 2008. Okay, so this is the basic kind of a statistic which I would like to show. And there are three kinds of leaders in the world. They are called as Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. Group 1 are leaders, and Group 2 are learners, and Group 3 are underperformers. But we come under learners, leaders. When we talk about leaders, so all these countries, like United States, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, France, Italy, all they all come under leaders, and we are learners. We are still learning this is the gross GDP per capita in scale. Okay. So if you look into some statistics in India, especially, look at the figures in 2006 onwards. Okay, this is patents granted. This is examiners. Okay, so we have look at the number of patents, 7,513, and we have only 30 examiners. We have shortage of manpower. So look at here in 2012 to 13, the statistic says 4,496. 4,126 innovators patents granted, and only 101 examiners are there. So that is the reason why if you even file a patent today, it may be granted after 2 or 3 or 5 years. So in India, people are like, especially the enforcement of law and the regime is very, very slow in terms of granting patents. So if you grant the patent quickly, so the patent, the innovator can again go for new innovations, can drive a new driven economy, and which will also help the GDP to increase in terms of developments. So if you look at the total number of applications granted, look at here, in terms of mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, computers, electronics, okay? So then computers, the electronics, then drugs, then electricals, then biotechnology, then general engineering, then food, and other things. Look at here, mechanical engineering are having a lot of patents, and granting of patents also is very, very high in terms of mechanical engineering and other things also, okay? So Indian patent scenario, look at the Indian patent scenario, pre-modernization scenario, legislative limitations are there, limited scope for patenting. I told you there's a lot of problem with the patenting, and we do not have a sufficient number of examiners in India. Then limited patent term we have given only 10 years to 15 years. The Patent Act is not in tune with the global scenario, lack of proper search facility engines, because we cannot go and search patent discoveries in Google directly. There is a long delay in processing and granting of patent, and processing totally manually, and lack of trained manpower. Okay, especially we have very less manpower, lack of proper infrastructure and logistics, and lack of computerized environment. We don't have a technically skilled people. There's a low awareness. There's low filing. Then there's so many neglected issues in India. So insufficiency of the regulations and enforcement, and lack of awareness and respect for IPRs and access rules, and lack of efficient applications, control of these regulations in the IP regime. So for that reasons, so India are definitely 5 years behind in terms of growth of IPR in terms of GDP. Okay, so patenting activity in India, I told you before also, there are so many myths about the patents, the concept, the knowledge is not tradable community. So insufficient institutional infrastructure is also there in several institutes. So even though there are so many innovators, they do not have a sufficient institutional infrastructure to develop an idea into an entrepreneur, and inadequate focus during the project planning and execution, poor reverse engineering mindset for most of the people in India, and general complacent attitude, then temptation to acquire short-term gains immediately, and professional and financial insecurities. The major part of the R&Ds being in government sector, so general public are unable to utilize them, the facilities, infrastructure facilities, especially in terms of private funded institutions. So less emphasis on IPR oriented research in PROs, especially public research organizations, then lack of public awareness also about the patents is also one of the major drawback. So Albert Einstein once said, "I fear the day when technology overlaps with our humanity, so the world will only have a generation of idiots." So now there are so many apps developed in the mobile phones, and so for everything we have got an app. Even we can check our blood sugar levels and okay, the pulse rates even in the mobile phone also. So the technology sometimes overlaps with the humanity. This is what Albert Einstein said. So I told you about the IPR policy, all about patents and trademarks. So look at the 2014 and 15 statistics. Okay, then so many patents were filed only on trademarks. So in India is very famous for trademark related patents. Okay, look at here, nearly 15, 16. You can see granted 37 patents, 37,799, almost 38,000 patents are granted only in the trademarks. And if you look at the patents, look at here, number of patents 27,933, but the number of patents granted nearly 3,581. Okay, so numbers are very less in terms of patents and trademarks. So India should strengthen IP regime to improve the competitiveness. Okay, so if it doesn't strengthen in terms of institutional capacity building and institutional infrastructure, okay, so definitely we may not be able to go on par with the economic development and balance the national priorities with concerns of the domestic and international companies wanting to invest in India. So the prominent among them would be the Patent Amendment Act of 2002 and 2005, Trademark Act also of 2002. Okay, so generations of IPR and role of DST, Department of Science and Technology, is also taking a lot of effort, especially in terms of biotechnology, agriculture, data analytics, nanotechnology, new materials. Okay, so creating an industry academia environment or interface for encouraging cross-fertilization of ideas and IPR-driven research and innovation in jointly identified areas in terms of food security, healthcare, and agriculture. Okay, so legislative framework, especially Patent Act 1970 was started in 1970, and now it is recently amended in 2006. Then Designs Act 2000 has now again 2001. After 2001, Design Act has not been amended, and Trademark Act 1999. After that, 2002. Then Geographical Indications Act 1999, 2000. See, after 2001 and 2, these Design Act, Trademark Act, and Geographical Indications have not amended so far. And production of plant varieties also 2003 and 2001. Recently, you might have seen a case of lace chips in Punjab and Chandigarh. Okay, in that places you can see there is a case going on between PepsiCo company and the farmers of Rajasthan. So Department of Education also covers the Copyright Act of 1957 and amended in 1999. So after that, there is no amendment till now. Okay, so you must also make mention, like, what is the invention and legal protection. Look at here, Maruti Honda model comes with design registration, and Coke techniques to generate enzymes, trade secrets, especially KFC also comes under trade secret. Coca-Cola comes under trade secret. Then traditional knowledge and new plant varieties, Protection of Plant Varieties Act. And South Indian sarees, Bengal cloth, and Bikaneri bhujia comes under geographical indicators. Okay, because we have seen Mysore bhaji, Mysore malige, and Tirupati laddu, also and Bandar laddu, Kondapalli bommalu. All these comes under geographical indications. Okay, so protection of intellectual property rights. Okay, in India, especially India stands 37th out of 38 economies around the world. Okay, look at here. So this is one thing which I would like to show, the protection, especially in terms of protection, India stands 7th place, 37th place out of 38 economies. So scale of innovation, look at here, India stands 64th or 66th place globally, okay, after all these countries. Then I told about the strengths and weaknesses of India. So the legislative enforcement system is very low, and number of skilled people are also very low in terms of patent granting in India for trademarks and patent services. Okay. Shall I stop it here, madam, or you want me to go on? Hello? Hello? Hello, madam, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Ah, yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Sir, you can continue for 10 more minutes and then we can interact for 5 minutes.
Yes, madam. Okay.
Thank you. Sir.
Okay. Okay, madam. Okay. So if you look into the top 10 patentees in India, look at here. Qualcomm is a US-based company. What US company has got to do in India? In the Qualcomm US-based company has 138 patents in India granted, and CSIR Indian Institute has 98 patents, and Samsung India Software Operations has 84 patents in India, and GM Global Technology Operations USA has got 79 patents. Look at here. Except three in India, all other countries like Thomson Licensing, Siemens, Samsung Electronics, Ericsson Mobiles, Sweden, all of them have got a number of patents in Indian regime. Hindustan Liver has got only 32 patents. See, Hindustan Liver is meant for Brook Bond or Brew Coffee or, okay, so Taj Mahal tea. These are the ones who sells them. So you must be well aware of the number of patents which are the major players in India who grants patents, who gets patents granted in India. Okay. So taking the overseas call, look at here. Flipkart Singapore, Zip Dial Singapore, Capillary Singapore, InMobi Singapore, Dhruva is one of the major thing. So major startups that have incorporated elsewhere also. Okay. Even Flipkart, though from India, has also merged. Ventured towards the Singapore. So 3 lakh a year tax exemption for all the royalties received by Indian patent holders. So Ministry of IT and Communications offers reimbursement of up to 15 lakhs per invention filed for international patent. So if anyone wants to file international patent, so Indian government will reimburse up to 15 lakhs of rupees back to the inventor, okay, even if it is in international patent. Okay. So I mentioned about Atal Tinkering Labs. Then there's so much of funding given by Department of Science and Technology, supported by Niti Aayog under Atal Innovation Mission and recognized incubation under and all the policies which took place in 2017-18. So you can get funding for all the schools, colleges also. So there's so many startup companies. So I mentioned recently that the startup profits are tax-free for 3 years. I mentioned about these in the last slides. So exit policy for 90 days, credit guarantee fund, tax exemption, then mobile app from April 1st to register startups in a day. Within a day they get registered when you mobile app. Okay. So how business incubators help the startups? Look at here. See, there's something called access to investors, then mentoring, then technical assistance, then intellectual property management, marketing expertise, then financing, accounting services, networking, shared operational costs, inexpensive workplaces, seed funding. Okay. So look at here, Nirmala Sitharaman, Commerce Minister, is okay, before has a scheme of the cluster in all states. Okay, so making sure incubation centers in Bangalore initially, and now this great challenge has been taking place in all the especially this practice is taking in Madras also. Okay, so I start at the top when compared to all other industries. Okay, so information technology is one of the major thing. Then from innovation to entrepreneurship, I told you about this also. So let us speak about some exciting patents that shook the world. Okay, this is just image of Louis Pasteur's first patent in 1873 is the first patent. Look at here, Ananda Chakrabarti, the first patent on genetically modified organism. He was denied a patent in India. He went to USA and was granted a patent on Pseudomonas aeruginosa bacteria, that would eat up the oil spills. So the color mauve is one of the major thing. He discovered okay, first aniline or synthetic dye mavun. This is the foreign guy who filed a patent in India in 1856. Okay, this was finding a cure for malaria. So penicillin, Sir Alexander Fleming was granted patent in 1948, method for production of penicillin. Okay, so 1948 he was granted a patent. Then aeroplane, the US patent 1906. Okay, first patent granted in 1906. Then sewing machine, look at here, first patent in the world. Okay, so in 1846 this was the patent granted to sewing machine. Then electric lamp, Thomas Alva Edison, he has more than 1200 US patents in his name. Okay, so he was given a patent for electric lamp using a carbon filament. Then invention of telephone and controversy, especially Alexander Graham Bell granted patent in 1876. Look at the diagram which he drew. These are the original picture taken from the patent files. Okay, this is a television, Logie Baird brothers, television and light systems. Okay, this was granted in 1929. But Einstein's refrigerator, okay, Swiss federal patent. This was a original picture drawn for the patent, and it was granted in 1902 or 1909. And the first Indian patent, I told you, an efficient panka pulling machine. Okay, he was granted a patent in Calcutta, Government of India patent, for civil engineer George Alfred Dippening. Okay, for a panka pulling machine. So I'll end it here, madam, because okay, I'll end it here. So I'm free to take up any questions, madam.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for your jet speed presentation, sir. And
So
now
was
the
it jet
session.
speed, madam?
You have covered so many issues which are very essential for the participants. Now the session is open for interaction. The participants are requested to unmute yourself and interact with the resource person, or else you are free to post in the chat box.
రాసుకుంటున్నారా లెక్చర్ అనుకున్నా
Any queries from the participants?
I think it is a new topic to all of them because I also come from biotechnology, but right, so I'm able to speak it so fluently. So otherwise, it's a general topic because nowadays this topic has been very much science and technology management, especially trademarks, copyrights, designs. So that is the reason why probably it must be a little bit hesitant to ask questions in this line.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir. Some sort of innovations are going on in engineering and pharma institutions, but you might have visited several affiliated colleges. How about innovation hubs in affiliated colleges, sir?
I haven't seen any innovation hub in any college in Andhra Pradesh especially. But when you go to Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, especially Mangalore, Bangalore and Chennai and Tiruchi, Tiruchirappalli and off Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and other places, every degree colleges are having incubation centers, madam. Okay. Every degree college. I don't see any single college which is not having an incubation center. Okay, they are well notorious for tapping money from the government of India and setting up a tinkering labs or incubation centers in each college. But yes, in Andhra Pradesh, I have seen so many incubations and at least 10 to 12 incubation centers in Padmavati Mahila University and one in SK University and one in JNT Kakinada. And nowhere else I have seen incubation centers, madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So we are still at the back.
Yes, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, and sorry for the inconvenience, sir. Since 3 days we didn't expect any problem.
Yes, madam.
That's why today only it happened. I don't know the reason. However, we are very happy that at last it happened. I thought of we may lose you due to some technical problems today. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, madam.
And now I hand over the session to Dr. Sarojini to present a vote of thanks.
Okay, madam. And I also would require a link for the recorded video of my lecture, madam.
Okay, sir.
Thank you,
Definitely,
madam.
sir. We will send. Dr. Sarojini.
Good morning. Okay, ma'am. Good morning, all of you. With immense pleasure and gratitude, I, Dr. Sarojini Chiluguri, lecturer in zoology, privileged to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. I thank Almighty God for His grace upon us for the successful completion of a 4th day's international webinar with His blessed eminent speaker, Dr. P. Veerabrahmachari, Senior Faculty, Department of Biotechnology, Krishna University, Machilipatnam, as wisdom, knowledge, and understanding are because of God. As they pass through the valley of Baka, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. Sir, words are not enough to express our gratitude for the springs of your knowledge regarding innovations and entrepreneurship arena in Indian IPR framework. The inputs of your talk is like autumn rains covering the young and the enthusiastic minds with pools of wisdom to become fruitful in their life path in an efficient and effective manner at a global level, making our country to sustain and to stand at higher levels in its innovations and IPR, thereby enhancing its economy with commercial trade in the startup ecosystems beneficial to the society. Thank you, sir. I convey my deep regards and heartfelt thanks to our correspondent, Dr. Sister Teresa Gade, for her constant support. Dear thanks to Dr. Sister Shaini KP, Principal of our college, for her guidance and support at various steps. A special thanks to the convener of this international webinar, Mrs. M. Aruna, the head of the Department of Zoology, and organizing secretary, Dr. S. Uma Maheswari, head of the Department of Mathematics, for making today's session a grand success. I express my warm thanks to Mrs. C.M. Anita, head of the Department of Physics, and to Mrs. P. Hamalata, head of the Department of Home Science, for introducing the speaker and for MC respectively. My deep sense of thanks and appreciation to all the participants for your active participation in this international webinar with great enthusiasm, making today's event successful, though a little inconvenience arose, testing our patience. The wisdom will be given to the dear ones to shine in their life. It's you. Thank you. Last but not least, I am extremely thankful to Mr. Murali and Mr. Ravi for their technical support. Once again, thank you all for being with us today. Have a blessed and wonderful time ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarojini. On behalf of the organization, I appreciate the patience of the participants. Once again, I convey my sincere apology to the participants for the inconvenience caused due to technical issues. Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much, Dr. Veerabrahmachari garu. We will meet tomorrow at the same time. The session will start by 10. The room will be opened at 9:30 a.m. as usual. The link will be posted. And feedback link will be given after tomorrow's session. Thank you very much. We will close the session with this.